So welcome back. So in the last session, we have discussed about how to work with loops. We have discussed about how to work with while and for loop, right? In this session, let's talk about functions. So what exactly are functions? And I can say functions are the most important concepts in Python, guys. And it will be helping us a lot in working with programming, procedure-oriented programming especially. So we call functions itself as your procedure-oriented programming. Let's see how to work with functions, and first let us understand what exactly are functions. Let us assume that you are writing some code. Okay, let us assume this is your code right now. Okay, I'm just saying a is equal to 10, a random code I'm writing, and b is equal to 20, and maybe, and I'm just saying c is equal to a plus b, something like that. Okay, just a random code I'm just writing here, and b like d is equal to a minus b. Okay, m is equal to maybe a into b, right? And d is equal to a divided by b. So this random code I'm writing like this, some lines of code I'm writing like this in this way. Now, when I'm writing this particular code, it is we were able to properly execute it. And if we just say print c comma d comma m comma, okay, I'll do like this. I'll use s here. So s, m, and d, right? I would able to get, okay, I would able to get the answers, right? I would able to get the results, as simple as that. Okay. Now let us assume that I want to write the same code or execute the same code. Okay, I have executed in the right now first line. In the first line of my program, I have executed this particular part of code. Maybe I'm having approximately 5 to 6 lines. Okay, so I'm executing this particular part of code in the first line of my program. Okay, I want to run the same code. I want to run the exactly same code after some 100 lines or 50 lines of my code. I've written a lot of codes after that. Let us assume these are all codes. After that, again, let us assume I want to execute the same code. I want to execute the same code. So what I will do in general, I should rewrite my code again here, right? Again, after some 15 or 10 lines, again I have to re-execute the same code. Again, I have to copy. So if you just observe here, what's happening here? The same code, you are writing it repeatedly in the same program. Okay. When you want to execute it, generally what you are doing here, the same code you are writing repeatedly after some lines of code in the program, right? This is not a right way of programming. So to avoid this problem only, we have functions. So what exactly is a function? What exactly is a function? I can say that function is a reusable code, right? Reusable code. When I say reusable code, I can use it n number of times. Once I declare that code, I can use it multiple times. So in this way, what happens is, first thing, my duplicate codes will be avoided. Means I don't need to write my code any number of times when I want to use it. In that way, lot of huge code, whatever we have in your code, means for example, if you write duplicate code, automatically the code will be lengthy. So that particular lengthy code will be avoided. And obviously, you can improvise or optimize your memory and time. Yes, your memory and time optimization also can be possible using this particular function. Okay, so memory and also time is optimized by using this particular functions. So these are the few advantages of using functions when in your programming. Okay, now let's try to understand how to declare functions in Python. In Python, to declare functions, we should use a keyword called as def. Here, def stands for define or definition, something like that. And how do we declare function is, it's very simple. You can simply say def. The syntax is something like this: def space function name. Okay, and you have to give your parenthesis. Parenthesis is very, very important, and tell you how exactly parenthesis is used. And obviously, you start with your colon, which indicates the block of code. So even your function is also block of code only. It's a reusable block of code. Okay. And so as you are starting a block of code, obviously you should have a colon, which indicates that you're starting a block of code, and indentation. Indentation indicates that that particular code is present inside your function. So code 1, and code 2. So in this way, this particular code after indentation is present inside code, and this particular code, whatever you wrote inside the function, can be used n number of times in your program. So let's see how exactly you can use the functions in your regular coding. Okay, so let's start doing that. So I'll just say like this, def. Okay, I will declare my function. So I'll just say my function name is maybe math. I'll try to use a function called as math, and whatever code I've written here, this particular code I will try to write inside a function. Okay, so you can see I'm writing this particular code inside a function, and indentation is very important. So I'm giving this tab. Okay, so now in this way your code is inside the function. So this is how you will be declaring a function with now on a block of code. Now whenever run this, okay, the code is executed. But if you just see here, I didn't got any output. So why? Why do you think I didn't get any output? Because whenever you define your code and write your code inside this, whatever code you have written inside this particular code will be just defined, that's it. Okay, a function is something which only defines your code, that's it. But if you want to execute it, you should call your code, that's it. Right now we have just defined it, declared this code, that's it. If you want to execute it, I need to call. How do we call it? By using its name. So how do we call its name? It's very simple, math. I can just call this math here. So if I call math here, what happens is it will call the function. Whenever it calls the function, it will execute. So it is something like this. Here it is declared. Here you're first declaring the code, whatever you want to execute multiple times. Then you're calling it, and the moment you call it, this gets executed. As simple as that. Okay. Let's see now how do we run this. You can simply say run this, and it gets executed. It gets executed, and you got the output here. As simple as that. Okay. It got executed, and you got the output. Now, if you want to, for example, if I want to maybe run multiple times, so what I can do, I can maybe, you can see I've declared only once, but I'm running multiple times. Again, after some time, again, I'm running multiple times. So you can see without you declaring this 7 lines or 8 lines of code, you're just calling a simple function and you can run that code multiple times in your code. That is the reason I can say it's a reusable code. You can run it multiple times in this way in your code. That is the main idea behind a reusable code. Okay, perfect. Next. Now, how do we use functions? Basically, when you talk about functions, there are mainly two types of functions. Before talking about the use case of functions in real time, basically there are two types of functions. One is predefined functions. Okay, as the name says, it is predefined and user defined. So the functions which are predefined means which already defined by the Python developers, means which is not defined by you as a developer, that is called as a predefined function. Means the predefined functions, as the name says. Example is range is a predefined function, or enumerate is a predefined function, or we have used max function, some function. For example, let us assume that we have used a function called as max to find a maximum of two numbers, or a maximum of a particular list. Okay, or minimum function or some function. These all functions are predefined functions. We are not explicitly defining this function. Whereas user-defined functions are the functions which we define in our program for our use case. For example, this math is a user-defined function. We define this particular function for our use case. These are the main two functions we have. Perfect. Okay. This thing you should understand when talking about functions. Now let me do a small example here. Let me take a simple example of this. I'll take a function called as add, and I'll take a function like this. Very good, perfect. Now, if you just carefully observe here, if I print C here, carefully observe, this is very, very important. I need everyone's attention here. Okay, just print C here. Now, the moment you call add, you are able to get the output of whatever you have added. That is 10 plus 20, you are able to get 30. That's very good, perfectly fine. But let us assume that I want to use this a variable called as C later on. Means in my future, I want to use this variable C. Okay, first let me restart my kernel such that all our existing variables will be removed. So what is the use of this restarting kernel, guys, is if you have any existing variables in your memory, that will be get removed. Okay, it will remove all the variables and your Python interpreter will start from first. Okay, all the temporary variables will be removed. Okay, now I'll call add function. I'm getting 30. Very good. Now what I will do is I want to use this output of this two addition somewhere later on. But the thing is, where exactly the output is saved right now? Where exactly the output is saved? You might say it is C, but let me print C. It says C is not defined. Why? Why? Because the very important point is here C can be accessed only inside the function. This variable called as C can be accessed only inside the function. When I'm outside the function, I cannot access this C. So in that case, how to get 30 here, how to get the output means how to declare means I want to declare this variable called as 30 in a variable, or I want to use this later on. Maybe I'll do like this. I'll say D is equal to maybe add. D is equal to add maybe. Okay, and I'll run this right now. And I'll just say print D. Still nothing. It is none here. Still it is none. So here if we just look at this, it is only printing 30. But if I want to save it somewhere or if I want to use it somewhere, I cannot do that. Right? So I hope you understood the problem. The solution for this is in function, we can use a keyword called as return. In function, we can use a keyword called as return. What exactly is return? So return keyword will be helping us to return an output from the function. As the name says, return something, return output. That's it. Okay. So as the variables, whatever you declare in a function or whatever you are using in a function cannot be used outside the function, like I just shown you, C cannot be used outside the function. That is the reason I'm using a keyword called as return. Return will be helping us to return the output from the function. Whatever output you have returned, whatever output we got, you can return that output and use that output for your future goals, for your future program. Let's see how can you do that. Okay, it's very simple. Instead of print, I'll say like this, return C. So when I'm returning from the output like this, when I'm returning C here, the output of the add function will be the output of this function, that is C. Okay, the output of add function will be C. So in that way, return keyword will be helping us. So the main use of return is what? To return any output from the function, because the whatever data or whatever things we used in the function cannot be accessed outside. So if you want to explicitly access something, you should use return. As simple as that. Okay, so let me run this code and I'll just say add. You can see, even though I'm not printing C anywhere, I'm getting 30 here because your function is returning that. Now I'll do like this. D is equal to add of function and you can print D. Now you can see I got 30. Previously I was getting none because it was returning none, means nothing was returned from this particular function. But now as the output called as C is returned from this particular function and the variable called as D, I'm getting 30. Right? So that is how you can use return. So return is used to give some output from the return from the output from the function. Okay. To make this more clear, I'll show in a visualize Python. Okay. It will be more clarity to you. Okay. So let me launch visualize Python by going to pythontutor.com. Yeah, I'll write this code and also I'll call this function. Okay, it will be very interesting to see this execution. Yeah, so you can see in the very first step, you can see a function called as add is declared, as simple as that. Then what happens? Once your function is declared, it is not executed. You can see the moment your function is declared, it is going to the next step, means it is not executed. So this particular code will be executed, whatever code you written this, only when the function is called. So I'm calling the function in this step. Yes. So you can see the moment I'm calling the function, it is going back and calling the function. So in this function only, you can see in this function, it is declaring two variables, A and B. Okay. These A and B are declared inside the functions. Okay. Next, C, we got A plus B, and this function is returning what? C. That is 30. You can see the return value for this particular function is C, 30. So in that way, your D will become 30. Your D will become 30 because you declared this. By chance, if I don't return this, and visualize it. Okay, so as usual, it will ABC is declared, but C is declared as 30. C is given as 30, but it cannot be accessed outside. So it will return none because I'm not returning anything, return none. And outside the function, you can see after your function is done, you can see there is no 30 at all. You can see in the entire screen, you cannot see 30 at all because function is done. Once the function is done, all your function variables will be removed. Means it cannot be accessed outside. So in this case, you can see there is no function variables at all, function things at all, and you can see 30 has gone. Means whatever code you have executed in whatever code you have executed in your function is completely unused because you can see there is no output from your function because it is done. That is the reason we use return keyword. Okay, that is the reason we use return keyword. And one more important thing is Python is a dynamically programming language. We talked about this point already. Dynamical type of programming language. Even your function type is also dynamic. Means what? I can return a string, I can return a float, I can return any type of data type once you declare it. Let me show us with a small example. But before going to that example, I should talk about something called as arguments also. I'll talk about that right now. Then we'll go to the dynamical type of dynamical functions. Okay. If we just carefully observe here, when I'm declaring any function, you start with giving a function name, right? Of course, you start with def, but function name you'll be giving like this parenthesis. In this parenthesis, if you don't give any values, basically, if you don't give any values inside this parenthesis, that is called as function without arguments. Without arguments. Okay. And if I want to give any values inside this particular function, that is called as arguments. Function with arguments. So by now, I guess you know the values inside this are called as arguments. Now, what is the use of arguments? That is very, very important to understand. Function with arguments. What is the use of arguments? It's very simple. Let us take the same function only, this particular function only. Right now, I'm able to add A and B and I'm getting C. But if we just carefully observe, are A and B dynamic or static? It is clearly static, right? Your A and B is declared 10 and 20. And the moment I call my function, it can add only 10 and 20 only. But for example, I want to make it dynamic. Means I want to make A and B as 30, 40 or 50, 60 or 70, 80 while calling the function, I cannot do that. Means I have to again go back to the function declaring. I should declare 50 and 30 here and run again once again. So here A and B are static, but if you want to make A and B dynamic, you can use arguments. So like this, if you want to get your values when you are calling your function, if you want to get your values when you are calling your function, you can use arguments. Okay, let's see how exactly this argument works. Okay, let me take like this. Let me assume that you are having add A and B right now. So I'm removing this A and B right now. And in this add function, I'm giving like this A comma B. Okay. So here I'm not declaring A comma B, but I'm trying to expect the A and B from my call itself. During the function call, I can dynamically give my A and B. So A and B can 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, minus and minus 20. It can be anything. But my ultimate goal is to add that two values and return it. That's it. That's my ultimate goal. Okay. Let's see how exactly it works. Okay. So I'll just declare A and B. And one more important thing is, as Python is dynamically typed programming language, you don't need to explicitly tell about A and B. A can be integer, float, anything. Okay. Let's see. Now I'll just call add. If I just call add directly like this, I'll be getting an error saying that add function. So whenever you are seeing this, it's a function. Okay. Add function missing two required positional arguments A and B. So I guess by this you might know what is the error is. Here actually when you're declaring a function, you have given the arguments, but you are calling without arguments. That's the error. Okay. So let me give the arguments, but don't worry what exactly is positional argument. We'll talk about that. Okay. So let me give some values here. So I'll make it 10 and 20. So automatically what happens is A will be 10 and B will be 20. Okay. I'll run this. I'll be getting 10 and 30. I'll try to use maybe different values. So the advantage of argument is this. I can do dynamically, means I can give 20, 30. I'll be getting 50. Or maybe 20.5 and 30.10. So you can see carefully one more important thing is A and B can be integers, float, and you can see, and moreover, this function can return an integer. You can see this function is returning an integer. The same function can return a float also. Whereas in a static type of programming language, we cannot do like that. Means if a function is defined to return an integer, it should only return integer. We cannot return a float or we cannot return a string. But in Python, we can do that. Means, for example, if you want to return a string, you can do like this: add maybe hello world. I'll give A as hello and B as world. As simple as that. You're getting, so this function C is hello world right now. So in this way, your function can return a multiple data types, not only integers or not only float, and it can take multiple arguments like this. And you can also see here I've taken 2 arguments, but I can take 3 arguments also. Maybe I'll take a very argument called as C. So it will be 20, 30, maybe something like this. And okay, I'll take an argument called as D instead. So I'll just say plus D. That is more better way. Okay, 60 and 20, maybe 1.5 like this. Okay, hello world Python, maybe hello world Python. So in this way, I can actually take arguments. I can give arguments and get the result. Okay, these are regarding the arguments. So when you want to give values dynamically, you can use arguments. When you don't want to do that, you can use function without arguments also. That is the reason we use these brackets. Okay, the main brackets is whether you want to use arguments or without arguments. If you make it empty, without arguments. If you make it this, with arguments. So in our case also, we have used many functions with arguments and without arguments already. Predefined functions. For example, print. Print is one kind of function which as argument you have to give the arguments. Enumerate is something. And if you talk about list, when you talk about list, let me show you the list functions which you have used, some without arguments and with arguments, right? Let me open that and show you. These are, of course, these are predefined functions which I'm talking about to show the examples of with arguments and without arguments. Okay, just launching. Meanwhile, one more important thing is, meanwhile, let's discuss this. From a single function, you can return multiple values also. It is not that compulsory that you should return only one value. You can return multiple values also. How? It's very simple. Let us take this particular function right now, which was there previously, math. For example, here not only, okay, I'll take this as an argument here, A, comma B. Okay, A, comma B. Cool. So here, not only addition, I want to return the subtracted output, multiplied output, and see like that is a division output. Then how can I do that? It's very simple. You can say like this: return C, comma S, comma M, comma D. As simple as that. So you can return multiple outputs at a single go by using like this, by using a comma. So not only single output, multiple outputs. Now let's see the output of A and B. Let's see what happens if I do like this. So if I say A and B, I want to use A as maybe 100 and B as some 500. Let's see what happens. Cool. I'm getting output. I'm getting multiple outputs. So this is your addition output, subtracted output, multiplied output, and divided output. And can anyone guess what is the type of this output? Type of this output? Yes, it's a tuple. It's a tuple, you can see. So I can say that whenever your function is returning a multiple output, it will be a tuple. Okay, whenever a function is returning a multiple output, it will be a tuple for sure. Okay, and you know how to separate this tuple, right? Already we have discussed this. Let me separate it. So let's say SU stands for sum, SUB stands for subtracted, MUL stands for multiplication, DIV stands for division. So what I'm doing here, I'm separating this all 4 variables, 4 outputs by declaring 4 variable outside. So I'll say like this: sum, comma, subtract, comma, multiplication, comma, division is equal to math of 100, 500. In a single go, I can get all the outputs. So sum, subtracted, multiplied output, and divided output. So as simple as that, you can use your multiple outputs from your function in this way. So a function can return a single output and a multiple output. Okay, I guess now this is launched. Yeah, you can see some examples of functions we have used. Yes, so append function, you can take it is taking 1 argument. Insert function is taking 2 arguments, the position and the object. And pop function is not having any argument, and we can give argument. We'll talk about this example also. We call this a default arguments. So you can see sort function is not taking any argument like this. So like this, we can give functions with arguments or without arguments also in this way. Okay, perfect. So in this way, a simple return function, return output, return keyword, and also the arguments work in function. Now we should talk about types of arguments in functions. Okay, different types of arguments in functions. The first type I'm talking about, okay, let me list out the types of arguments first. Coming to types of argument, we have some types of argument. Let's see that what are those. Then we'll discuss each and every one right now. Okay. The very first type of argument is positional argument. Positional arguments. Next, we have something called as keyword arguments, and we have something called as default arguments, and we have something called as variable length argument, and we have finally the last one, that is keyword variable length argument. Keyword variable length argument. So these are the various types of arguments we have in general, right? So let's discuss one by one. Let's start with positional argument. What is positional argument? Let me take an example here. Okay. So to take this example, I'll take a simple example of a function with where you're taking your form. Okay. Let us assume that you're filling a form. In this, you have some arguments like name, age, gender. So you know, right, in a form you'll be having some personal informations like this, city. Okay, these are the few arguments you have in your function. That is when you're filling a form, right? And you will try to print all those. So I'll just say print name is name, age. So I'm just printing this like this, something like this, and gender, and finally city. Okay, so like this, I'm just creating a form. Okay, I'm creating a form and I'm printing like this. Now I'll just fill the form, means I'll be giving some values for this form. So I'll just say form is name. Name maybe I'll say Abhishek. Age maybe 26. Gender maybe some like male, and city is something like Hyderabad. So random data I'm giving like this, and I'm getting like this. Name is Abhishek, age is 26, gender is male, and city is Hyderabad. So if we just carefully observe this particular function, in the place of name, you're getting Abhishek. In the place of age, you're getting 26. In the place of gender, you're getting male. In the place of Hyderabad, you're getting city, right? You're getting city like this. So what the first, if we just talk about this, the first argument, the very first argument is name. So according to the position, the first argument is name. So you're giving your name. The second argument, according to the position of age, is age. You're giving your age. So you are giving the argument based on your positions 0, 1, 2, or 1, 2, and 3, something like that. So you are giving your arguments based on your position. This is called as positional argument. So by chance, for example, by chance, if you exchange your positions, you invert your positions, maybe something like this. So if I give first 26, then Abhishek, then your data will be reversed. I mean, your data will be not proper. Means name is given as 26 and age is given as Abhishek, which is exactly wrong. Obviously. So here, what's happening here is your arguments are exactly taken according to the positions of it is declared. That is called as positional argument. That is called as positional argument. Okay, because you're declaring, you're giving based on positions. The positional arguments are also called as call by value. Okay, call by value means according to the exact value present in your function, you're calling based on that. Okay, you cannot interchange your positions here. Means by chance if you interchange, it will not work. This is called as positional arguments. This is called as positional argument. But let us assume that I don't know the positions. In some cases, when I'm using some predefined functions, I don't know the positions. Then I can use keyword arguments. Keyword arguments. So in keyword arguments are also called as reference or reference arguments, because we'll be having some reference here. Okay, let's see how to work with keyword arguments. So let us take the same function, no difference in this function declaring. But what I will do is, I will call the function slightly different way. I will interchange the function, but here I am giving some keywords like this. Age is equal to 26. And this keyword, whatever I'm declaring here, it should be matching with your argument name here. Okay, age and name equal to, and then I'll say gender equal to, and I'll say city equal to. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to give a keyword for every argument, and perfect, I got it. So name is, so you can see, even though my name and age are interchanged, now my name is present the first, and sorry, my age is present the first and name is second. So in this case, your name and age are interchanged. Even though your name and age are interchanged, but still you are able to get it. You are able to properly get the output, because you are giving with the help of keywords, but it is not depending upon the positions. Now the position doesn't matter here, keywords matter. So as you are giving with your help of your keywords, your outputs are perfect. So like this, your keyword argument works. Keyword argument works. You can take one more function example also. Maybe for example, if I say def add a comma b, and you'll say return a plus b, return a plus b. So you can say like this, add 10 comma 20. Here when I say 10 comma 20, 10 will be a and b will be 20. Or if I say 10 comma minus 20, it will be minus 10, because 10 will be a and minus 20. Or you can also say like this, b is equal to 10 and a is equal to 20. So this time what happens, a will be minus 20 and b will be 10, something like this. So in this way you can use your positional arguments and keyword arguments. Okay, and also when you're calling a function, you can have a mixture of both positional and keyword. Means something like this. For example, I'm taking a function like this. Okay, I'll take a function like this. Sorry. Okay, I'm calling a function like this. So first let us assume I'm giving a positional argument Abhishek, this one. I can do like this. I can say gender is equal to male, and maybe something like this. City equal to Hyderabad. So I can have, here you can see it's a mixture of both positional and keyword argument. So this also works. This also works. But what doesn't work is something like this. For example, if you say like this, name equal to 26, then something like this. Just carefully observe what I'm doing here. So here what I'm doing here, first I've declared a keyword variable, and sorry, I've declared a keyword argument, then I've declared a positional argument, right? Let's see. This is not possible in Python. So it says that positional argument follows keyword argument. So this should be never happened in Python, guys. Positional argument should not follow keyword argument. Means what? Your positional argument should not be after your keyword argument. Okay. So whenever you are calling your function, first you should call all your positional argument, then only you can start your keyword argument. But your keyword argument should not be before your positional argument. That is very, very important point you should understand. So now if I declare like this, maybe first I'm giving a positional argument and then I'll be giving a keyword argument. Here also you can give, you can see here I'm giving positional argument after this. This is not possible. So maybe I can do like this, gender is equal to male and city equal to Hyderabad. So this works. So this reverse is not possible. Means it's very clear, right? Because your Python confuses here, obviously. That is the reason. First, you have to declare all the positional argument, then only keyword when you're doing mixture. But we cannot do in a reverse. I mean, we cannot declare first keyword, then positional is not possible. Okay, because your Python confuses there in that way. And also this is also not possible. For example, let us assume at the second position you declare 26, and again you come back and say here like age is equal to some 26, comma city is equal to Hyderabad. This is not possible. Again, it says multiple values for age, because already you have declared positional argument as age, but you're giving it. It's not good, right? It's not a perfect one. So in that way, your positional and keyword argument works. Okay, so if you are giving by position, that is called as positional argument. If you are giving by keywords, that is called as keyword argument. As simple as that. The next argument we have is default argument. So what is a default argument? Means if you are okay, first thing, one more important thing is keyword argument are also called as call by reference. Call by reference, because you are calling the argument by a reference value, that is your keyword. Okay. Next we have default argument. What is a default argument? Means if you are having a default value for your argument, that is called as default argument. As simple as that. What is meant by default value? It means, let us assume that you have your function something like this. I'm declaring one more function right now. You have a function like this. Now let us assume that by default, let us assume that your form is circulated in only Hyderabad, a city called as Hyderabad. Okay. Let us assume the default value, if the user doesn't mention the city, the default value should be taken as Hyderabad. Okay. If user doesn't mention the city, you should take the default value as Hyderabad. Then you can use a default argument. So how do you declare default argument? It's very simple. You can say city is equal to Hyderabad. So if I do like this, automatically if user, so here it is now when you do like this, you don't need to mention city at all, or it is not compulsory to mention city. If you mention city, well and good, not a problem. It will get replaced, but there is not compulsory to mention city. Okay. So in this way you can run this. Now I'll call form here. And maybe I'll do like this. Gender is equal to male, and I'll not mention any city. Okay, I'm not mentioning any city. Just observe carefully. You can see, even though I didn't mention city, I didn't got any error. If I don't declare it like this, I would actually get an error. You can see I would get an error saying that it is missing one positional argument city. But as I mentioned city as default argument right now, you can see I'm not getting any error, and it will take the default value as Hyderabad. Now by chance my city is not Hyderabad, but it is Chennai. So what I can do, I can say city equal to Chennai. So you can see your Hyderabad got replaced with Chennai. So if I'm giving that particular argument, automatically your value is changed. Okay. Now let us assume that I can also do without keyword, means I can only give positional in this way. As simple as that. Like this. Okay. And one more thing, I can also declare two or more keyword arguments also. For example, let us assume that positional arguments also, default arguments also. I can give two or more default arguments. Means, for example, let us assume that this particular form is only for males. So automatically gender will be automatically by default male, right? So I can say like this, male. You can see I'm declaring two or more default arguments. So if I don't give these two arguments also, it works. If I give only age and name, that works, because automatically gender and city is this one. Okay. Or for example, if I want to change my, if I want to change my value from male to female or something like that. Okay. For example, like we have some other rollout of this particular form, and there exactly your you need to change your gender and city, something like that. Then you can happily change your gender. For example, happily you can change your values of your gender. Okay, depending upon this one in this way. Okay, perfect. Next, one more thing we should understand here is if we just do like this, see, you can declare multiple default arguments, but if we just do like this is not possible in Python. It says that a non-default argument follows a default argument. Means what? See, age is actually a non-default argument, but gender is a default argument. So this is not possible in Python. Means you should declare all non-default arguments at the last. First, you should declare all the default. Sorry. You should declare first all the default arguments. Okay, first all the non-default arguments. Then you should declare all the default arguments. Okay, first we should declare all the non-default arguments. Then we should declare a default argument. Means all your non-default arguments should be first, and all your default arguments should be a last. Means that is how you separate it, or else again your Python confuses here, right? So whatever default arguments you want to declare, you should declare after your non-default arguments. That is very, very important thing to understand, even though you're declaring multiple default arguments. Okay, that's regarding your default argument. So now let's discuss about variable length argument. Let's see now how variable length argument works. So generally guys, before talking about variable length argument, I just want to take an example here. Okay, let me take this particular form example itself. Let us assume I'm having my form something like this. Okay, I've created my form something like this. Okay, and after that I'm trying to call the form. Okay, I'll say like this: form of, I'll be giving all the data here. Maybe I'll be giving these particular data in this way itself. Okay, where I'm giving my name, age, city, gender, and all those things. Obviously, I'm able to get this. But for example, let us assume that I want to I want to give another data. I want to provide one more data here. Okay, an extra data here. Maybe something like blood group. Without taking the form, I want to just provide it. It is not possible, right? Means, for example, if I want to add an extra argument called as blood group dynamically, I cannot do that. For example, if I say blood group, something like this, right? Something like this. It is not possible. I would get form got unexpected keyword argument blood group. Or if I give a positional argument also by chance, I mean, if I give a argument something like this also, if I do like this and in this way, and if I give an argument also, it would say that it was actually taking, it was expecting for four positional arguments, but 5 were given. So this is wrong. So in this way, I can, if there are 4 number of arguments, so what I want to convey here is, if there are 4 arguments, I can give only 4 arguments. I cannot give 5 arguments. Okay. Let's assume you have a situation something like this. For example, you are defining a function here called as add, and right now I'm taking 2 variables to add. So I'll just say c is equal to a plus b. Okay, and I'll try to return c, as simple as that. So what I'm doing here, I'm just adding 2 variables and I'm just returning that particular variable, right? Now whenever I say add, I can add only 2 numbers here, right? For example, right now I can add only 20 and 30, that's it. For example, I want 20, 30 and 40. I want to add 20, 30 and 40. I cannot give 40 here because I'm taking 2 arguments, but 3 were given. So here in this situation right now, if you fix the number of arguments here, for example, if I'm taking only 2 arguments or if I'm taking only 3 arguments, I can only use that many number of arguments. I cannot increase my number of arguments dynamically. If you want to increase, you should go here, declare those arguments here and use it in the code, right? Then I can use it. So to avoid this problem, to make your number of arguments dynamic, means here, for example, I want to take 4 arguments, I want to take 5 arguments, or I want to take only 2 arguments. So I want to make this number of arguments dynamic. In that case, you can use variable length argument. So what is meant by variable length argument? The meaning of variable length argument is the length of the argument can be changed. Means the length of the argument is not fixed. The number of arguments, I mean to say that the number of arguments is not fixed. I can have 0 arguments, 1 argument, 2 arguments, 3 arguments. I can have any number of arguments at any point of time. So that is called as variable length argument, as the name says. And variable length argument is also called as args. In general, it is called as args, and it is denoted by, okay, the variable length argument is denoted by star. Okay, star is a main important thing you use in the arguments to denote a variable length argument. So whenever you see a star in the function arguments, it is talking about variable length argument, as simple as that. Okay, so let's start using that and understand how exactly we can use variable length argument. Okay, so let's take the same example of add function only. So instead of taking the fixed number of arguments, I'll use args, and let's understand how can we use args and how it will be working. Okay, so first let me take a data. I'll use add function. Of course, I'll not add right now anything, and I'll not return anything. We'll just see how exactly args works first. So I'll do one thing. We will first use star here. I told you as usual that star indicates args, and I'll just say data, star data. So it means that here star data, in the sense star is my args, indicating args, and data is a argument name. Okay, the variable name. Okay, So all your multiple arguments will be present in data. But how it will be present, let's see. Let's print data first and see what happens. Okay. Let's print data and see what happens. That's it. Okay. So I have declared a function where I'm taking the args called as data and I'm printing data. Okay. So now let's try to add function. Let's try to add it. Maybe something like this. First, let me give a just call a add function. So whenever I'm calling an add function, it returns empty thing. I mean, it prints empty. So you can see I'm not giving any argument here. You can see in the add function, I'm not giving any argument. Let me try to give one argument. Yes, you can see I got one argument. It is able to take one argument, two arguments, three arguments. Maybe I'll try hello. I'll give just hello for example. Four arguments, five arguments. So you can see the number of arguments are not fixed here. I can give 3 arguments, it works. I give 4 arguments, it works. I give 5 arguments, it works. So that is what your variable length argument is. That is first thing. And if we just carefully observe here, what is the type of the data? Just pause this video and guess what is the type of the data? Yes, it's a tuple. So I can clearly say that whatever input you are taking from the variable length argument, that will be of type tuple. Okay, so whatever multiple arguments you are giving, that particular entire arguments will be saving in a data structure called as tuple, and we can use that tuple for our further usage. Okay, so if you just want to check this, you can also check this like this. So you can simply say print type of data. If you just say print type of data, you can see it's of class tuple. Okay, it's of type tuple. Perfect. Now let's come back to our main important logic. That is, what I want to do is whenever I send some data here, it should add all those elements. It should add all those and return us the sum of those, right? Because here I am able to add only 3 numbers, but for example, I want to add 4 numbers, 5 numbers, 6 numbers. I cannot do here, right? So I can do in this particular code. Okay. So what I can do? So I have two options. Either I can use a function called as sum itself. So if I say return sum of data, it will return the sum of all the elements in the tuple. But the thing is, I should not use strings here, of course. So for example, if I say 1 to 10, 20, something like this, it will return, yeah, wait, let me run this again. I should say sum of data, sorry. Perfect. So I got 33. This 33 indicates what? The sum of all these elements. For example, if I remove one argument, you can see it is adding 3 numbers right now. For example, now I'll add 4 numbers. So you can see I can add any numbers I want, any number of numbers I want right now by using sum of this one. Okay, like this. But the disadvantage in this particular function is, for example, if I try to give, okay, mistakenly I've given a string which is not allowed, right? I'll be getting an error saying that unsupported operand this one. So actually we can write a simple code. Instead of using a simple sum function, we can write a code such that we can skip your string and add the remaining numbers. Means, for example, by chance a string comes in your data variables or data arguments, you can remove that. You can actually not remove, but you can skip that. So I'll be leaving this as a task to you. You can just try that. Just a simple thing. You should write a simple. First thing, I'll just tell the logic. You can try experiment that. Okay. So what we can do is you can iterate through the data here because data is a tuple. So you can iterate through using a for loop. Okay. And if you check whether your element is whatever you have, it's of type string or integer. So how can you check that? It's very simple. You can simply say type of hello. For example, if I say type of A, for example, it will be obviously str, right? So if it is str, you should skip it. If it is non-str only, you should go and add it. So you can do something like that. So just try out that. It will be very simple. So that's your task for loop. Okay. Other task. Next. So this is how the args work. Now I'll use the same thing here. Okay. Let's imagine a situation where, let us assume again you're having a form. In a form, guys, in general, basically name is mandatory and age is mandatory, let's assume, and remaining all the other things are not mandatory. In such cases, you can also use args. Maybe let us assume gender, city, and all those things are not mandatory. So when you're working with forms, you might see some mandatory fields and non-mandatory fields. So in non-mandatory fields, user might give it or might not give it. So in that case, the args are the best option to use. So let me show you how to use that. So I'll do like this. I'll make name and age as mandatory. So name and age will be as it is. Name and age will be as it is. They are not args. They are the positional arguments itself. But whenever after name and age, I mention star data. So when I mention star data, it is nothing but your variable length argument. Okay. So now I will just remove this and I'll just say print data. Okay. Cool. Now I'll just give the form. I'll give this information in the form. First, I'll just give without, okay. First, I'll just only call form. Okay. Without any things. Obviously, I'll be getting the error because here, apart from the args, we have another two positional argument, that is name and age, because I told you, right, name and age is mandatory. So there are a few mandatory fields and there are a few non-mandatory fields. Now name and age is a mandatory field. So let me give that first. Okay. So maybe I'll give the name and age as usual. So if I give name and age, done. So I'm just giving two mandatory fields, that is name and age. I'm not giving non-mandatory fields. So data will be empty. Maybe let us assume I'm giving a non-mandatory fields also. Maybe I'm giving gender. So I'll just say city, my gender. Okay. For example, if I say male. Okay. So you can see I got male. So I can give, so after name and age, I can give any number of arguments I want. So name and age only is mandatory. After that, I can give male, I can leave it out, or I can give only city and leave it out, something like that. Okay. For example, I'm giving city like this, or I'm giving my pin code maybe. So something like this. I can give any number of arguments after this one. So it will work. So that is what your variable length argument is. Okay. This is how we should work with. Okay. But before that one more important thing is, let's assume that we are creating something like this. Okay. For example. Okay. Now in this case, what happens is, just carefully observe. Okay. So here, when you actually have args here, I mean, just carefully observe this very, very important point. Let us assume that first you have declared the args, that is your variable length argument. Then you have declared these arguments. Now, by default, this becomes a keyword argument. Means you cannot declare this by positions, because again your Python confuses here. Means, for example, you can see here it says form missing two keyword only argument. These are only keyword only argument. This cannot be no positional argument, because after star data you have declared this. So compulsory, when you want to give this name and age, compulsory you have to give like this, name equal to, means compulsory you have to give up as a keyword, not it, you cannot give as a position. So name, age, and it should be after all the positional arguments, as you know that this is very important syntax, that after positional argument should give keyword argument. So you can give like this, comma, name and age, like this is possible. So this is very, very important point to understand. So if you give your variable length argument before your this argument, this becomes your keyword only argument. What is keyword only argument? You can call this argument with help of keywords only. Without keywords you cannot call. For example, here if I say like this, and if I say like this, again it gives error, because it assumes that your whatever data you are giving here, these all are variable length argument. So it cannot differentiate. You can differentiate only with the keywords, and those keywords are name and age. So this becomes a keyword only argument. This is what the main important point. Keyword only means it can call using only keyword. Without keyword you cannot call it. This is very important point to understand regarding args. Very good, perfect. This is how it works. Next. Now you are giving the data. That's a very good thing, and you are giving this information in this way. Let us assume. Now in this case, you are giving mail, you are giving Hyderabad, you are giving this, some pin code or something like that. But the thing is, does machine know what exactly is this? Means what is mail? It can be gender, but you know that it's a gender because we're intelligent enough to identify that it's a gender. But does machine know? No. Or what is this? Is it a pin code or an ID? We don't know. So the thing is, the disadvantage of variable length argument is, there is no keyword assigned here. Means whenever user provides some data. So in these use cases, for example, let us assume in these use cases, we can happily use variable length argument, because for this there is no need of key. But in these use cases where when you're working with forms, variable length argument might not be better one, because here we cannot give a key. For example, if I try to give a key also, for example, if I say saying that this is pin code is equal to, still I'll be getting error because it says form got unexpected keyword pin code. So you cannot give like that because it's a variable length argument. You cannot give a key here. So the problem in variable length argument is you cannot assign a key to a value. So whenever you're giving a data, or whenever you're having a use case where you need a key for that particular value to differentiate, you cannot do that. Because for example, now you will say gender is male, but are you sure? Are you sure gender is like the male is talking about gender? No. Maybe it might be anything else, or this is pin code. Are you sure? No. So that is the reason we have something called as keyword variable length argument. Okay, to avoid this problem in such cases. In some cases, variable length argument can be worked perfectly, but in some cases we need keyword variable length argument. So keyword variable length argument is also called as QARGs. QARGs. Okay, and it is denoted by double star. So single star for variable length argument, double star for keyword variable length argument, as simple as that. And whenever you're seeing a double star, it means that you should give that particular argument with help of a keyword. Okay, so that is also variable length argument only. You can give any number of keywords, any number of what we call arguments. And but whenever you're giving an argument, you should compulsory assign a keyword. Without keyword, this doesn't works. Okay. So let's see how can we work with this. Okay, but before that one is one important point. So the data, the output of variable length argument is what? The output of args is tuple. This is very important point to note down. Okay, the output of variable length argument will be a tuple. Okay, let's see what will be the output of keyword variable length argument right now. Okay, so I'll just take the same use case and try to use it for using keyword variable length argument. So very simple thing, very small change. I'll just change the single star double star. So whenever I change single star to double star, it becomes a keyword variable length argument. Now when I try to give this, when I try to give name and age along with this, it says yes. It says I'll be getting an error. Why I'm getting this error? Let me explain you. It says that form take only 2 positional argument, but 5 were given. Why it is saying that? But because here compulsory, whenever I'm giving a keyword variable length argument, compulsory I should assign the key to the value. Without key doesn't work. Okay, first let me don't give any arguments here, only name and age I'll be giving. Let's see. Yes, it took. You can see name is Abhishek, age is 26, because these are mandatory. Because these are mandatory. And data is Abhishek, empty, because I'm not giving any argument. Now, whenever I want to give an argument, you should compulsory give a key. So I'll give like this. I'll just say gender equal to male. Okay. Yes, very good. Now you can see. So this is how you will be giving a key to a particular value. So that will, in that way, you are clear. Okay, what is what, right? You're clear there. Okay. So in this we're already clear because it is clearly positional argument. So this will be always clear. But here only in the variable length argument only we are not clear. So I'm giving gender. Okay. User might give a city also. So let's say city is equal to maybe Hyderabad. So in this way I'm clear. Okay. City. Next. Here I'm giving only one argument. I can give 2 arguments also maybe. Like it's a variable length argument, right? I can give any number of arguments I want. Okay. So gender is equal to male. Okay. So I can give. I'm giving 2 arguments. And if we just look at this, what is the output of data in QARGs? Yes, it's a dictionary. Yes. So we can say it as the output of QARGs is what? A dictionary. It's a dictionary. Like how the output. So you know that one, right? So we use dictionary to give a key to a specific value. So for every value, we'll be giving a key that is called as dictionary. Whereas tuple or list, you don't give any key for that. Okay, that is the reason it is in variable length argument. But if you want to give a key, you will be using dictionary. So dictionary is a group of key value pairs. You know that. Okay, so city, Hyderabad, and also I can give one more key and value. So maybe I'll say like this. Pin code is equal to maybe 5,76,000, something like that. So like this. Okay. 5,76,000. So in this way. So in this way, I can actually properly give the data in this way. Means with help of keyword. This will be helping a lot because sometimes I might give it a reverse order, but still as I'm having a key, so I'll be able to differentiate that. So now after that, how do you differentiate it? It's very simple. For example, I want to slice city. So what I can do, I can simply say like this, print city is, we can say, data of city. Okay, as simple as that. It is small c, okay, city, and you can see you're getting Hyderabad. So in this way you can slice your city, because you know, right, from after you get a dictionary, you know how to get a value from a key. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing a slicing here, and I'm just trying to get a value of Hyderabad from the key. So in this way I can give a specific to the value by using keyword variable length argument. So that is the main difference between a variable length argument and a keyword variable length argument. Okay. Now what if I declare something like this? Let's see what happens. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, this is not possible in Python. Okay, this is a very important point. Means you cannot give quarks first, then the arguments. Okay, it should be always in a reverse order. This is not possible in Python. This is very important. Args is possible. If I give only args, this is possible, but quarks is not possible. This is one more important. Next, also one more important thing I want to tell you is maybe something like this. Okay, I'll just take a def some data of a function called as data, and I'll give like this, args, comma, quarks. Okay, this is also possible in Python, guys. Means you can give both args and quarks in a single variable. Okay, so I'll just print like this. I'm just taking a variable name called as args. That's it. Okay, it is denoted by args. I'm just taking args just to make you understand. But you can take any variable name here. Okay. Okay. So now how this works is, for example, now I'm giving 1, 2, 3. When I'm giving 1, 2, 3, am I giving any keyword? No. So as I'm not giving any keyword, it is args. So you can see, in whenever I'm not giving any keyword, it will take as args, and quarks is empty. The moment I start giving a keyword, for example, like maybe name equal to something like this, then it becomes quarks. So until and unless I don't give any args, okay, until and unless I don't give any args, it will be, I mean, I don't give any keywords, it will be quarks, it will be args, sorry. The moment I start giving my keywords, it becomes quarks, right? Like that your Python can differentiate easily. Okay, like this. Okay, so if I don't give any keywords anytime, anywhere, okay, for example, I'm not giving any args here, I'm giving only with keywords. So right now your args is empty and quarks is having with keywords. So I can declare like this, I can use it according to my use case. So in this way your uh, args and quarks works, and in this way the function works, and in this way your different types of arguments works.